Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, as the case may be. Hi, this is Peggy Miller. I'm with Highland Winds LLC, and this is the podcast series on medical herbalism. It discusses the impacts and uses of applying Chinese and Ayurvedic medical herb formulas and herbs to different problems, health issues. This is the chronic and specific section. I've had an overview, an intro section discussing qualifications. The overview is terminology. Maintenance went through the different age levels in terms of how to maintain your health using herbs. And this is chronic and specific problems where you need to seek out a medical herbalist, Chinese and or Ayurvedic. But also what I'm trying to do is summarize. Today I'm talking about memory. This is going to probably be at least a two segment. These are each 15 minutes. What I wanted to focus on today primarily was brain fog and racing mind. Brain fog and memory in general. Let me just talk about a few specifics related to using herbs for memory issues. In some ways, I look at it as not as broad as I'd like, at least knowledge-wise, but that's growing daily and monthly. There's continued research as to how foods contribute to memory problems, and also how different herbs and different herbal techniques can help the brain deal with memory issues, neurotransmitter problems, etc. Today, in terms of brain fog and racing mind, are two very common but troublesome things to have. If brain fog is something you're dealing with, herbs can almost always be of help, either completely or partially. A lot of it, believe it or not, relates to diet and blood nourishment. I have found in my work, and other medical herbalists as well, that when someone has brain fog, you look first at the diet to see is there sufficient nutrients, is there too much of a heavy. Sometimes people tend to have switched to what is considered a very healthy diet, but they use it too dominantly. The probiotics sort of world of foods and products can be very good, but can be overly used to the detriment of using regular dietary guidelines. Enough protein, enough veggies of a variety, using sprouts, which can really help in terms of protein and amino acids and enzymes and digestion, making sure that your blood in general has enough nutrients. Usually meat is the best way to, red meat, bone broth, not heavily, but in your diet. If you're not a meat eater, then you really do have to rely on herbs. And increasing the blood nourishment alone can often deal with brain fog issues. And so first you look at your diet and have a medical herbalist look at your diet from a medical herb standpoint, because there are herbs like Schisandra cornus, Rhamania, Dangi, etc., that can quickly nourish the blood, try to get it more up to speed. Goji's another one. And that can be of real help. So the diet and the level of blood nourishment, and I've talked about blood in previous segments, so backtrack. These are being uploaded to my Highland Winds LLC channel so that you can easily backtrack. MCAT, who airs these, has DVDs. You can get the whole library of them, because I do talk about how blood nourishment is critically important to your overall health and also to your memory. In addition to nourishment, blood nourishment, and making sure your organs like your spleen and your liver, that key stagnation is cleared, because key stagnation and blood stagnation also contributes. If you're not getting enough blood to the brain, and it isn't necessarily always a clogged artery problem, if your brain isn't sufficient in volume, and this goes back to increase your nutrients, and over time you increase the volume, increase your diet calories with good nutrients, like add another 200 or 300 calories per day of good nutrients, grains, beans, legumes, protein. If you're a meat, and if you eat eggs, eggs are another good source of nutrients. Veggies, of course. So as you do that and you increase the blood volume, more blood will get to the brain. Excuse me. But in addition to increasing blood volume and blood nutrients, you have to double check whether Ki is stagnant. If Ki is stagnant, then not enough energy is driving the blood, even if it's fairly nutrient-rich blood. Not enough energy is there to drive the blood to the brain. So you need to first clear Ki stagnation, and I've talked about Ki and Ki stagnation in prior segments, so go back to that if that sounds maybe possible. If fatigue is a real issue to you, and you have brain fog, then you very possibly have heart Ki deficiency, possibly have heart yin deficiency, and so you need to get the Ki up. Codonopsis and astragalus help do that. There are pills and herb formulas that address the Ki levels in the body, but you also have to clear any Ki stagnation, which sort of is like blood stagnation. So you clear blood stagnation and you clear Ki stagnation, and then you increase Ki and increase blood nutrients. All of that may be right there. The problem might go away. Because if you're getting enough good blood to the brain, it's moving through the brain because there's enough energy, enough Ki. Some pronounce it Chi. If that's all sufficient, then the brain fog can very quickly clear up. If some is there or it comes back, you have to then double check and have a medical herbalist do this. What's the cause of maybe stagnation returning? There could be something else related to your spleen or your kidneys, to your gallbladder, your liver, causing stagnation to return quickly. But in addition, just your overall Ki levels, is spleen Ki deficient? What's going on with the liver? And so if it returns, like within a month, then you have to do a clearing again, but also look to what other organs are contributing to this and how to address those issues as well. But a lot of times, clearing of the blood and clearing of Ki stagnation and increasing nutrient levels on both counts can really tackle brain fog. And you'll find you're thinking much more quickly again. Your thoughts are clearer. You wake up with a clearer brain. Believe it or not, I've worked with a lot of clients. This is common knowledge within the medical herbal field that are trained Chinese and Ayurvedic herbalists. It's astounding how just clearing up some of that stagnation and increasing the nutrient level to both your brain and your Ki can really improve your memory right there. But in addition, the other thing that contributes at the get-go to brain fog and to stagnation, one of the other common problems is an overabundance of tension and or grief. And here, really, I was going to say here, I'd like to stress that as you get older, there are more grief occurrences in life. One loses spouses, friends, etc., and some often say, has seen too much. Grief can be a problem that impacts stagnation and then in turn impacts the brain. And this can occur. The reason I hesitated was this occurs at any age. You can have young children impacted by grief situation, when their parents divorce, when they lose a good friend, when they have to move to a lot of things can cause grief in a child. And if they're not thinking very well, if you notice in your own child a memory issue, usually that can be an indication that there was grief of some sort. And we tend to forget with families, it's not that forget's the wrong word. When a couple are going through problems and are considering separation, maybe you haven't even separated yet. There's fights, there's this, there's that, there's stress, there's money issues. The children can hear that, just like they hear things at school. They see fights at school. They see a teacher getting upset at a child that they feel that was wrongly done. Things happen. They hear the news of gun issues. Children experience a lot of tension and they hear and see what is going on around them. And this can cause memory issues in your child. And if so, the problem grows over time, so that if there's a lot of blood stagnation, a lot of key stagnation, as the child gets older, it still may be there. So if you see a child struggling with memory issues that don't seem correct, it's not just a one-time thing that they may have blanked for whatever reason, but a kind of a recurring problem. That can be an indication of blood and key stagnation, which results from grief and worry and tension and problems they faced. And that needs to be addressed. So this applies to all ages. And you would do a much more diluted approach in terms of using the herbs, but they could be used with supervision. With racing mind, the only thing I want to talk about racing mind, because racing mind, if it's allowed to exist for too long, and it's the occurrence, especially when you try to go to sleep at night, you can't sleep, you have a lot of anxiety. When you have racing mind, your mind just doesn't want to stop. You're thinking of 3,000 things when you go to sleep. Some people say get up and drink a cup of warm milk and ginger. Not necessarily a bad idea. That can help a lot and can help you get to sleep. Sometimes just getting up and drinking 12 ounces of water, just downing 12 ounces of water, can help the problem immediately. But if you experience it constantly, there is, once again, usually stagnation issues contributing to it, so you're going to need to do a blood and or key stagnation clearing. But there are herbs that help. Schisandra helps. Oat straw helps. Some of the nervine, skullcap, can help you get to sleep and can help the nerves heal and relax. So turning to those at times is not a bad thing to do, and I highly recommend it. So racing mind is an indication of early stagnation, key stagnation issues. Blood stagnation, key stag, needs to be addressed. In either case, it impacts the brain and eventually impacts memory. So hope this has been a help. I'm signing off, Peggy Miller at Highland Winds, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll continue with this with my next segment. You have a good one. Bye.